I'm just going to come out with it. It's going to probably sound awkward to a lot of people, and at this point, I don't really know how to convey exactly what I want to say in a nice way, and therefore, instead of all this pandering about, I'm just going to say it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it's a good idea or a necessarily important idea to comply with political correctness when we are working on art or entertainment. And I think it's important to not necessarily fight against it for the sake of fighting against it, but if you need to express a particular thing that is not political correct, you need to push through. You need to push through and express it anyway. And that's what we did with this Twisted Tarot Tales. I don't know if Twisted Tarot Tales would have been even more successful if we'd followed a politically correct path, but I can tell you that I'm pretty sure it wouldn't have been a great horror tarot deck had we done our best not to offend anyone. And the reason being that horror by its very nature, as I've explained many times, horror by its very nature is something that doesn't appeal to certain people, which I completely understand. I mean, a lot of it is to do with gore and all sorts of decapitations and just horrible things. That's part of life also. I think we do a great disservice to people if we pretend it doesn't exist. In terms of this horror tarot, it wouldn't have been a great horror tarot deck had we faced some scrutiny over it. We faced some criticism. Some people got offended by particular imagery, and that can't really be helped. That's people are entitled to be offended. That's your right to be offended, and we don't necessarily set out to offend anybody. But if you're going to be offended, that's your right. I'm not going to take that right away from you. In terms of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, I think it's important that we express those in a way that isn't hampered, we don't want our freedoms crushed, So we went ahead and created this tarot deck. There's a few cards that have offended people. Here's one in particular that offends people. I don't really know why, because maybe I'm just maybe my maybe my view of things. I find this tasteful. I find it tasteful. I don't find it worthy of being banned on Facebook. I just don't. And nakedness in art has been around for hundreds of years, probably thousands of years. It's not like I just suddenly did this thing. And in this case, the guy has been killed by a woman who happens to be a vampiress. So I really don't understand exactly how this is offensive. We don't have too many cards that have nakedness in them. There's probably about two. And this here, our Four of Cups was also another one which people felt was I really don't get people sometimes. People said, There was one person in particular said that that card somehow meant that I was all for the Indian Holocaust. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't really understand where people come up with these notions. It's all emotional based. Instead of facts, they come at you with emotions, and you're like, how am I supposed to deal with that? So this card is actually about the problem at Pine Ridge Reservation, and it features Native American indulging in a few beers. Pine Ridge actually has an alcoholic problem. The residents there will tell you as much. That's just, that's a fact. And regardless of what people think we created this card for, it doesn't take away from the fact that this is also true. I go into a bit about the Pine Ridge Reservation in the book that we're currently writing, and the problem that is going on with White Clay, where the booze, the alcohol is being sold there, and the Native Americans in the Pine Ridge Reservation are getting their alcohol there. In the Pine Ridge Reservation, the alcohol is it's forbidden on the reservation. It's illegal. You're not supposed to be in possession of it. But the problem is, White Clay is bordering the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. So there is a whole real story to it. It differs somewhat from a lot of the horror imagery in our tarot deck, but Christine felt it was a great image, and we decided to keep it in the tarot. But that's my meaning. That's what I get from the image, and as an artist, I was trying to put that in there. That's why you've got on the bottles White Clay, and open eyes, not cans. Ireland itself has... there's many people in my country too also have alcohol problems, and it's one of those things, and I think because I'm not necessarily because I'm of a different race of people, I'm supposedly not allowed to talk about this. So I think it's bullshit personally. I think people are nitpicking. I don't fucking like it, but that's alright, that's fine. Christine's inspiration for the concept of the Four of Cups was Chief Woodenhead in, I believe it's what was it? A few short stories called Creepshow. And so that's kind of her inspiration. So we have a few different inspirations going on there. But cowboys and Native Americans and different kinds of characters show up in horror comics, which we based our tarot deck on. So I understand that sometimes people feel, well, why is this in the tarot deck? And I understand that idea, but I think it's probably it's one of my favorite cards. And we get a lot of different criticisms, mostly by white people. I don't get it. Our Eight of Cups, of course, offended a few people, but mostly it's been positive. I think I would be more worried if the tarot deck didn't actually have any cards which offended anyone, because then it wouldn't really be a great horror tarot. And in my humble and personal opinion, I think our horror tarot deck is probably the best, if not one of the best, horror themed tarot decks out there. And I don't, that's my opinion. I'm really proud of it. I think it's one of my best works so far, in my opinion, and I stand by that. But again, in this video, I'm really just trying to express why I believe that it's important to stick to your vision, stick to your goal, and don't worry about people that say, oh, it's politically incorrect, oh, it's offensive, oh, I can't agree with that, we're going to boycott you, we're going to boycott your work, we're going to just blank you out. You don't listen to that crap, really, because otherwise, if you listen to that crap, all of your creations are going to be exact same as the next guy, and you're not going to stand out, which is maybe what they want. I don't know. That may be what they want. They want everything uniform, everything exactly like other carbon copies. Because I notice something going on these days where people say they like difference, but they don't act like it, They say they like difference, but at the same time, if you point out difference, you're supposed to be some kind of, well, you know what I mean. They don't understand. They don't really stand by what you're talking about. Like, for example, we portray cultures in our Twisted Tarot Tales, but the idea of even noticing different cultures is somehow allegedly politically incorrect, or it's like racist or some other nonsense. And realistically, noticing difference in culture is, well, it's being observant for a start. But why can't it be celebrated, Why can't it be celebrated that I'm an Irish person and somebody else is a British person, and this is the British culture, this is the Irish culture. What's wrong with that, What's wrong with being an American, for example? What's wrong with being any culture you can think of? What's wrong with having your own culture? And what's wrong with talking about other people's cultures and celebrating the difference? What's the problem, Why does everything have to be allegedly all the exact same? Because that's fucking boring, And so, whenever you look through all those cards in the Twisted Tarot Tales, I really do hope that you look at that and you see all the different images. They're not all the same. They're all different characters, different scenarios, different ideas, different concepts, different cultures. And so that's kind of what I hope you take away from the deck. I really I'm probably talking here long enough, but that's kind of what I hope you can take away from this. Nothing has to be the same as something else. It doesn't have to be that way. And people are not supposed to intimidate you into creating something that's politically correct. That's just bullshit. You need to create what you're going to create. It really pisses me off sometimes that people expect a certain thing, but at the same time, you look through history, you look through art over the ages, and there's always critics, there's always people who have a problem whenever somebody do something differently. Look at the pre-Raphaelites, they were criticised too. And there's probably dozens of other movements and things in art that people are criticised over, and oh, that's not real art, and blah blah blah. And so, I look through these cards here, and I'm proud of every one of them. I think they're good. I really do. I mean, this is one of my favourites too, the Three of Coins, because it's the guy is envisioning something that actually comes to life, and that's kind of what art is in a sense. That you bring something to life that was before it was just was in your head, and you put it out there into the world, you manifest it. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed watching this and I have not rambled too much. Thanks once again for supporting our Indiegogo campaign. We're now over 100% funded, as I mentioned, and I really, on behalf of Christine and I, we really appreciate the support and believing in our work. And I hope you enjoy the tarot deck when you finally receive it. Thank you.